Hi. For today, I wanted to talk about phone calls. If you are a fan of Laughing with Lucky, phone calls you're very familiar with. That's basically how people from the outside can talk to you while you're locked up. The thing that most people know is that it's expensive, that if you don't have a phone card that you can purchase from commissary or canteen, you're going to be using collect call to a family or relative. Now, it gets very expensive because sometimes depending on where you are, it could be a local call, or it could be considered a long distance call. And for your family member who's doing the collect call, that can really add up. For the total time that I was in jail for, amongst 3 people, the total amount they spent on phone calls for me was, I think, about like $300. Which is insane, because just to keep in contact. Now, a lot of this, of course, had to do with the fact that this was my first time being in jail, and I'll talk more about this in the future, about the specifics of kind of for my personal situation. But my mom actually did not know I had a court case. So the fact that I ended up getting put in jail was something that only my brother knew. So he kind of kept a lot of secrets for me at the behest of my father, who said, no, you don't want to tell my mom, because she had a lot of health issues and emotional issues, and this was something that we all agreed would not be good for her. But we never thought that I would end up being in jail for not violating any of my conditions for terms of release. So when I ended up in jail, basically my phone calls were to come clean about the fact that yes, I've had this court case, or I've been arraigned and stuff like that. And the strange thing that I learned is my mom did not yell at me. She did not do normally she yells at me a lot. So it was a very calm voice. I know it was a sad voice, and knowing that it's hard to get people on the line, I do my best to call her at a specific time when I know she'd be able to pick up the phone, and we turned it into a very consistent thing of like a schedule and how long we would talk. The thing that I think probably surprised her, the first thing I told her was, don't worry, I have guys watching my back. You do not need to be scared that I'll be hurt. And I don't know if parents expect to hear something like that, but that was the first thing I told her. I think largely because she thought that I would be kind of harassed or terrorized by other inmates, for the fact, for example, for the fact that I'm gay, that she was probably scared that that something could happen. But that was the first thing I told her, that I'm okay. There are good guys who are watching me, protecting me. Don't be worried about my physical safety. And I hope that made a difference for her to hear that. And, I can't imagine for a person like in my mom's position to hear that and whether or not you can trust what you're hearing. But, dealing with her though, she was acting a lot stronger than I thought she could, And the times that I did get to call and have a conversation, we ended up, during my stay, I ended up calling her every 4 days. So about every 4 days, I'd have a phone call with her. It tended to be easy because I usually call in the beginning of the week and then the end of the week. So the phone calls were fine. I didn't have trouble getting her to pick up. I had called other people, to try and figure out my case. And if you can watch a previous video that I talked about getting from a public defender or private attorney. So while I was in jail, I was actually had a public defender, and I, could not get a hold of my public defender for, while I was in jail. And a lot of folks, when they're in jail, whether you have a private or public, you have a private attorney or a public defender, it's going to be very difficult to get them on the line, because it's either the time that the phones are on and you can make phone calls, whether your lawyers are currently in court dealing with cases. That's hard. So the phone calls are one of the most frustrating things for inmates to deal with, is how to get in touch with people, and the amount of time you can talk. And sometimes there are stupid people who will talk about their cases on the line when it's not even their lawyers, and they make it very clear that they're recording everything you're saying. So if you're not talking to your lawyers on that phone line, that can be used against you, and it's explicitly clear that there are like flyers in front of the phone that says all calls are recorded and stuff like that. So at least I personally do not to discuss things about my case. Not that I would discuss it with my family, but the amount of stupidity that you have a lot of folks who just kind of use the phone as kind of like as if it's their home phone. It's not, and not realizing that you want to get off the phone as quickly as possible, because they know everything you're saying on these lines. So nowadays there are some reforms happening across the country around giving inmates a minimum number of free minutes to make phone calls. Definitely look that up in your own state and whether that exists. If it doesn't, I would hope you can actually join some advocacy efforts to allow inmates to not have to pay an arm and a leg, or for their family to pay an arm and a leg, just to stay in communication. So I know California made a big step in establishing that program for, I think, 300 minutes a month that are free to inmates, so that they can talk to their families. So look it up in your state. If there is no program like that, please work with your legislators to make that happen. So one rare time that I'll ask you guys for an advocacy thing. So if you like this video about how to stay in touch with family while you're in jail or prison, definitely press the like button, leave me a comment on any of your personal experiences going through this, and definitely, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That definitely helps me build the channel. So alright, bye.